Welcome to Rocket Ship, the home of epic React Native content. I'm Simon Grimm, creator of Galaxies.dev, and today's guest is Steve Galili from beautiful Amsterdam, lead software engineer at MyWheels. You've previously been the co-founder, you've been CTO, you've been, as far as I saw, the React Native team lead at Stream. We're gonna have to talk about that as well, and you definitely have a proven track record in the React Native community. So, Steve, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for inviting me.
So I stumbled upon Steve after he published or released a post on the Expo blog, which, by the way, has come a long way. I thought for a while there was nothing on the blog, and now you see more and more posts, a lot of guest posts coming in. So for everyone, highly recommend to check out the Expo blog. There are a lot of great case studies and articles. And you had one about, it was called Driving Innovation, MyWheels Journey from React Native Community CLI to Expo. And I thought that topic is definitely interesting because I don't know too much about the React Native Community CLI, but I think there are a lot of applications out there which are still built on that. And it would be super interesting to show why you switched, what the benefits are, what the challenges were. So this is going to be our main topic. Beyond that, I would love to touch the testing topic as well later, because I think you got some ideas about that as well. But for the moment, maybe you can start with an introduction of yourself, what you currently do, and also what MyWheels actually is.
Yeah, so I'm Steve, as you said, based in the Netherlands. Thrilled to be back here after living a year and a half in Austria. Joined MyWheels 6 months ago as a lead software engineer. We spoke about that, driving innovations, and basically in our car sharing platform. Before that, I've been freelancing. I was toying around with the idea of having my own company, indeed. And yeah, previous experiences, team lead of the React Native SDK team at Stream.io.
Exciting.
Yeah, so you also touched on that already. I think you've done your due diligence pretty on spot. One of my biggest passion is contributing to open source community. The sharing actually comes back to MyWheels and the fact that we like sharing things. I'm really passionate about simplifying testing for React Native developers and making them more accessible. Otherwise, the users will do the testing, right? So super excited about that. And part of a lot of mentor-mentee groups and programs as a mentor, but also as a mentee. So yeah.
Interesting. What are those groups? Are they in the Netherlands or just online?
Yeah, so a program is like, I think it's a fancy word for a while ago. I wanted to give something back to the community, just like with open source. A lot of people are starting with development and they're not sure where to start. So especially React and React Native and TypeScript engineers. So I was posting on LinkedIn when I had a little bit more time as freelancing between jobs, and that was actually pretty exciting, like how many comments and reactions I got back. So I was like helping 5 people, some like more short term and some longer, like every month, having one-on-one, like how can I help you and stuff like that. Sometimes it was like super technical and it was like, hey, check my React Native app. What do you think I could do about this testing or animation? And the other time I will say, hey, I cannot find a job as a freelancer, etc. So yeah, it could be anything, and it just gives me a lot of energy to help people with the things that I've been struggling with when I started.
That's so cool. Yeah. I mean, I tried to do the same. That's why I recorded my first YouTube videos. I was just like recording what I just learned to show other people, hey, this is how it's done. And yeah, now it's 10 years later. So MyWheels. What is MyWheels? I looked at the application. It looks really amazing. What can I do? I can car share my car, or what? I've never seen this. I think this must be special in the Netherlands.
Yeah. So good question. I mean, in a nutshell, a little bit about MyWheels, so everybody will have the context about what we're speaking about and what kind of an app and product we have. MyWheels was founded in '93, so a while ago, before React Native
Ooh.
was a thing or mobile apps were a thing. So
Yeah.
21 years now. It started as a community-driven car sharing initiative, and initially operating, with actual physical keys hidden under flower pots
Yeah.
in Groningen, in the northeast of the Netherlands. And Slowly, the last years, we've been evolving into a digital platform with an app. So the founding vision was actually, a future where cars are shared and not standing around in a city and parked, and dedicated to reducing car ownership and lowering carbon footprints. At the moment, our platform has almost 3,000 cars, 80% of which are electric, serving tens of thousands users in the Netherlands. So a little bit more about MyWheels is, unlike other competitors, you were asking, can I share my car and stuff like that? We have our own cars, and we are placing them. So we have our own fleet, replacing them in neighborhoods strategically in the Netherlands, ensuring it's accessible for everyone, and without the need of for this traditional rental locations like airports or what probably from the more traditional stuff.
We have this. I think we have the same concept for like e-scooters or so. They're lying around all across the town. It's probably the same
mobility, as we call it.
Yeah,
for sure. This one connects like to my Transer Times, one of my companies. We can speak about that later. MaaS, Mobility as a Service. But just wanted to say, last thing about MyWheels, we are currently innovating with V2G, which is vehicle to grid. So MyWheel aims now at the moment to make Utrecht, a city in the Netherlands, a big city, to be the first bi-directional city that uses cars that could feed the energy back into the grid. And this is a technology that allows electric vehicles to return stored energy back to the powered grid, helping to balance supply and demand. And that's a problem we have at the Netherlands. As the rapid increase of electricity, a lot of EV cars, a lot of adoption of solar panels, heat pumps, and this whole transition from fossil fuels to green energy. And now we've created imbalance and bottleneck. And this is where MyWheels comes to place, and the sharing group, our parent company, with provinces like Utrecht and Gelderland in the more eastern part of the Netherlands, where the green is in full capacity, but there are cars that are standing around in the city. So why not use them as batteries? So that's super cool way to combat the grid congestion with V2G technology. So I mean that's MyWheels in a nutshell. Probably forgot something.
I mean, it's a good overview in general, and I feel like we in Europe might be a bit ahead in terms of like the whole sharing and stuff. I mean, Tesla, of course, is big in the Bay Area. I don't know how big the rest is in the United States. But I think we have some really forward-looking ideas in these different areas. So that means you also had some good ideas in using React Native for that application. When was that application initially built? The first one?
Good question. Yeah, so the application was built, I think, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I came like a half year ago, and the first thing that I said was like, this doesn't make sense. I remember like my first day pulling the project, like cursing behind my computer. What is this error? And it's like a lot of Java errors, all obscure. Nobody can read them. Like, there must be a better way. I'm busy the whole day, and I think I'm an okay-ish React Native engineer, so I have my background. And like, but why? Because I was on Xcode 15.3, and the other developers were on 14 something, and somebody was like, everything was like so manual process. These kind of things makes you think like, is this the right career path? Maybe I should be doing something else. But then then very fast we're like, okay, Expo to the rescue. It could be done easily. And that was the idea, to start this enormous migration, because this is a big app with a lot of screens, with a lot of components, with a lot of subscriptions, with a lot. We have also B2B, so business. The government of the Netherlands is using the app for their employees, so we share that. So there's a lot of ins and outs into the app, and a lot of flow. So you're like, how do we do this in a way that makes sense? It has to be responsible also.
So you made a lot of friends on your first day of work by telling everyone their app is shit and you should migrate to Expo and this is going to be a
I
huge
mean, I
project.
tried. I tried to. I tried to. I mean, it was precisely like you're saying. It was like I was like, please, yeah. I was like, take your first day, take your first week, like swallow. You don't want to change. We're like, I built a team. There were like only one or two developers, and I was like, yeah, it works on my machine, and but it doesn't scale,
No,
because
absolutely no.
fast. We want to have like more hands on the app, and now we're like six front-end developers working on the app, and it would have been impossible without Expo and all its nifty building tools and libraries. And so that was the moment that we like sort of created a plan together with the product owner. So we have like 3 domains. It's really sorted nicely, like book and pay, which is like the first bit of the app, booking and paying and reserving a car, and then fleet and drive. So like actually open until closing the car and driving the car and everything that can happen in between, which is a lot of things. And then account and communication. So all together with those all product owners, I remember I was sitting and like, how are we going to do this, guys? I mean, and like also trying to like convince them that this migration, like try to make it like solidify and like to explain to somebody that does not understand what Expo is or React Native, why should we do it?
Right. I think this is one of the big problems for any sort of like technology upgrade and stuff. You usually just a cost center, like they just want to run a business and they have to pay you developers for creating something, and you should just work as less as possible, probably. So how did you convince them to convince them that you should definitely do this transition to Expo? What were the main factors that convinced the management levels?
Yeah, so basically I was connecting the migration into a lot of issues that already occurred on our platform. A lot of headaches that the other developers had. The release cadence that was like really not good, like every 3 weeks, 1 month ish. So connect this to stuff like that and said that it's like sort of an investment, and try to make like correlations to things from real life, and like it's like yeah, I mean, you could like patch things, or you could rent a house versus buying a house in Europe these days. So yeah, I mean, both ways are viable, but I told them, yeah, let's invest now, and then maintenance will also be easier. The release cadence will be easier, and development. Also spoke about the fact that we had a lot of web developers and like only one mobile guy, and it was like way easier. They're all React developers. But they were like super afraid of touching that thing. It's like, how do I touch this monster? And I don't want to download the whole internet. These are basically their words, because React Native, right? Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, and that was not the most difficult part. That was, I think, the easy part. I think step 2 was like, how do we, like, what is the roadmap doing this? How can you make sure that you get tickets from support? People are dealing with the current React Native CLI app and all its flaws, and how do we make sure that we're like sort of keep on releasing with the old one while working on this migration that will probably take more than 1-2 sprints, right?
Right. So this is where it gets a bit technical, probably. So you convinced your management. You had the general plan for the migration. How did you start? Like, from a technical, did you create a new repository? Did you create a branch? Did you start with Expo and then copy stuff over? How did it work?
Yeah, so we really created a new repository, and yeah, we started slowly but surely, moving all of the elements of the app, like always, like starting with a bare bones Expo app, from its CLI, and then adding the dependencies. Can I build? Then adding the screens, adding all the bits and pieces. And I could tell you that we missed some things. Nobody's perfect, but there were like not in the core. We're like focusing on the core business, on the core flows of the app. Somebody's booking an app, somebody's reserving an app, a car, opening or closing a car. I mean, if something will happen there, it will be a pity. So we're like more focusing on that, prioritizing together. And yeah, I mean, it took a few months at the end. I think like something like 3 months. And another thing that people do not think about really, at the beginning, when you like think about the plan of how to deal this beast of migration, is that there are new developments on the React Native CLI MyWheels app at the same time while you're developing Expo. So
Oh yeah.
I was like, let's just say that every Friday was like a really painful Friday with me syncing with main of the. This is why we all wanted to ship this together as soon as possible. So we had that kind of pushed us along the way.
I can imagine you had some really stressful weeks during that time. If you had like by hand compare your main to the new repository every Friday, was it really like a really manual process?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty manual process, but yeah, we try to make the best out of it, and it's just like biting through the sour apple, as we call it in Dutch. So
Yeah, actually, we have that in Germany as well. That's funny.
most of the time we steal things from you guys, but. Okay.
So you switched to Expo. That is one puzzle piece. What is the rest of the technology stack of the MyWheels app? Maybe you can share something. I don't know. It probably also has like a web version. So I don't know if you have some sort of mono repository, Next.js setup. Share what you're allowed to share.
Yeah, so basically we have 4 services. We have the back office, which is like sort of an admin tool with on Next.js connected to all the accounts, all the bookings, all the cars, etc. This is only for our support employees and for us, so it's internal. Second one is like the B2B portal, which is like a business portal, which is a place where we spoke about companies like the government of the Netherlands or KPN in the Netherlands that are using our platform for their employees. So it's like more administrative for business tasks. And then we have the app, which is basically the core, the pounding heart of of MyWheels. And before that, I mean, we had a website, but we didn't really keep it up to date. And so we now want to move completely into the app, and it's mostly the booking, the opening the car, and everything is like happening via the app itself.
So the current website and the app don't really share any kind of logic.
I mean, they do share the logics. We have like a sort of an low level client LLC and some state management that was shared, but it kind of grew out of each other and migrated because it's like separate domains. So the app is less busy with accounts and communication and like more busy with booking, and like our back office is more busy with the accounts and deleting them, adding them, stuff like that. So we try to make release more features that will be available via the app, but it's like because of how our backend is set, it's like pretty like divided at the moment, but we do share code via private libraries that we have.
Did you also switch over to Expo Router, or was it easier to just stick to React Navigation?
Yeah, so step by step, that's definitely on our list now, as this is definitely not a low-hanging fruit. Although, Expo Router is just an abstraction or like sugar syntax above with the whole file system like around React Navigation. Still, we chose to do this like step by step because otherwise we will go like too fast and we'll break too many things. So that's definitely on our list. I think this is how I closed the blog. And I said that's a future thing that we would like to do. So, for example, we're now going to work on MyWheels 9.0, which is basically new screens and the book and pay flow, and also while opening and closing a car throughout the booking. And there we will connect this to our new design system and also connect this to Expo Router. So we'll be starting slowly migrating to Expo Router. Didn't want to do it in one go.
Yeah, well, that would have probably been a bit too much for one migration. So it looks like you successfully finished the migration at this point. I assume, at least
Yeah,
so.
yeah, we're live already like 2 months or something like that.
Right. So looking back now, what do you think was like the most challenging part of that transition? Were there any like really tough situations where you probably even thought like, oh damn, this is just not working out, or were there no real big blockers along the way?
I think it was like mainly those Fridays of syncing everything with the code base. That was really difficult. Another challenge was like convincing the rest of the developers that are more web oriented, kind of, why what is Expo, like sort of trying to compare it to Next and and Next.js, etc. And and what Versa has been doing. But no, I mean it's been a smooth ride. Besides that, there were some modules that were difficult to like to migrate, but we just always picked up the better version of them and something that is newer. And because the app was like very old, the React Native CLI app was also, it was not just React Native CLI, it was also I think 0.62 of React Native. So I think we're like going like 2 years back ish. And
Mm-hmm.
basically that was also a very, very difficult one. Like, hey, you want to upgrade Reanimated, but you have some skeleton library that is connected to Reanimated, and then that whole shebang of compatibility. And, it actually brings me back to my time at Stream.io. And actually, a customer-facing app is peanuts in comparison to a SDK, React Native SDK. We need to make sure that everything works with the 200 devices of Android, and with software developers that are misusing your SDKs and
How did you
etc.
test all that stuff at Stream? Did you have like a giant team?
No, I mean we were six there, and we were like shrinking as we went. But the products we got a whole vertical with audio and video calls. But that's, I think, the shrinking part is a talk for other time. It's a different thread. But yeah, I mean we were just focusing on preparing for the new expos, SDKs, and preparing for new React Native and the big OSs that are coming up, the major releases. And yeah, we definitely missed there. I mean, it was not waterproof, airtight 100%. Yeah, it's really difficult. There was like always some obscure a very exotic device that where things are not working with React Native WebRTC, for video streaming. And that was always something that you kind of need to tell yourself, okay, there's a bug, but what's the priority, and how many users are being affected, how many SDKs are being affected there, or
Mm-hmm.
other apps are being affected, because there you have the whole B2B2C part,
Yeah.
and how many end users are being affected. I mean, how important is that? And you're ending up with a very big backlog also in a customer facing app, and you just need to, yeah, you need to make your decision. It's like deciding which kid do you like more. You love them all the same, right? But what should I do? So you really focus on the core, yeah, and the core functionality of your app or your SDK. And yeah, I mean, we did had end-to-end testing by Stream.io, but also there it's like very limited what you can do, the amount of devices, right? The
Mm.
pyramid of testing, end-to-end testing is like the Spitz, right, as we call it in German. And so it's at the top of the pyramid. It takes a lot of resources, but you do want to have it, but you cannot. Yeah, it's just impossible to do that.
I'm always impressed when I use Stream. I've worked a couple of times with them on some sponsored content, and like the whole video chat and the setup and everything that you get out of the box. It's really impressive. I
Yeah.
mean, there's some configuration behind it to get it running, but once you got it, it always feels like magical. What kind of powerful
Yeah.
service they have built. But gonna talk about Stream probably another day. To wrap it up about the migration, everything went smooth. You said the app is
Hmm.
done so far. You probably also switched to EAS. I don't know exactly, but
Yeah.
are there some other like benefits you now notice after the transition that you actually didn't even expect upfront?
Yeah, I think mainly the faster builds, so reduced build times. I thought it would be a thing, but we like sort of almost measured it, and we see that like we're we were like busy 3 to 4 hours a week with like building issues and things that are not aligned. And so these are all time that we gained as developers. Something that I sort of thought about, but I underestimated it, was the benefit of onboarding web developers on that do not have any idea, what permissions are. Or of course, you have permissions on web, but it's a bit different. The APIs of React Native are slightly different. That went super, super fast for us. So I think like three developers like picked up the thread, and we're like, before you knew, like basically we were releasing Expo on Wednesday, and we started working on it. And all of a sudden on Thursday morning, I'm like, "Hey, Steve, how can I do this? How can I do that?" And they were already up and running the app, like in like a matter of 15-20 minutes, and just like small questions on how that has to do with React Native. But they were so fast up and running, and that helped us do the thing that we wanted to, which is focusing on the core business of MyWheels and other stuff.
I mean, that's exactly at the end of the day the important thing to your like management level as well, that you can focus on the core product and making it better, and you're not focused on build issues and fixing some bugs because React Native. So I'm glad you did it, and I think many other companies will follow at some point, because Expo is now the recommended framework, and it's just it's not what Expo was 2 or 3 years ago, and slowly people will adopt this. All the apps that have been built over the last 4 or 5 years will then migrate to Expo. Another topic, this is now a hard cut, but I read about something in your company called Front-End Innovation Days. And I thought it sounds really interesting. Actually, it sounds really interesting to me because I'm like just doing my content. I'm doing my thing.
You're in constant innovation,
yeah, well, sometimes I also feel like I'm doing the same thing for the 10th time. So tell me, what is the Front-End Innovation Day, and how has it helped your company?
Yeah, so I think I did definitely invent the MyWheels Front-End Innovation Day, but I think I was reading one of the books of This is How Steve Thinks, Steve Jobs, and I think it was like 10% of the time of the week was like devoted to innovation. So I thought it would be like cool, because like to do it all together and have like Mark a Friday up front, order some pizza, and like,
oh yeah, I saw a lot of pizza on the pictures.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And yeah, basically like sort of a hackathon, but mini hackathon where everybody can choose their innovation topic, and just they have a sort of a research question. It's not that academic, by the way, but they have sort of a research question, something that they want to figure out, and then they're going full force with it. And so we have like a thread, or we have a Slack channel and threads, and we're preparing for that. And everybody has a topic. We can also team up like in pairs of two, stuff like that. But we had like we've done this on our own, and we had like 6 interesting topics last time. And actually, 2 weeks we're doing this for the second time, and our backend team, all the squads of the backend team, also sort of copied us because they're like, yeah, that totally makes sense. The idea behind it is leaving all your work behind and trying out something new that in most cases has to do with the overall direction of where MyWheels is going, or MyWheels front-end technical roadmap for this year. So for example, I was busy with end-to-end testing and Maestro. We have the headache of throughout our release process, we have our product owners that are doing the QA. We don't have a QA testers, and they're doing a lot of clicking, click here, click there, logging in, logging out, trying to, for as far as you can do, because we also have physical hardware, right, with the cars and Bluetooth, etc. But we had a lot of Mondays where I cut the release and they're opening it. It's like, hey, we have a crush. So I was like, we could really do this better. What's going on? So yeah, so basically I was trying in that day to sort of test with Maestro, which is one of the tools for end-to-end testing on React Native of that our login flow. So, login in as user X, user password, and then actually also started with, we have a map with a lot of resources. That's how it's the entity name for car in MyWheels, and then somebody clicks on it, and that you can see the details of a Tesla with how much percentage, and then reserving it, and then canceling the so that everything works, like sort of sanity check.
Mm.
Yeah, so that was like the last innovation day. Somebody was like also busy with app clips and all
I
kind of
think with widgets, real-time widgets or
widgets.
something.
Yeah, so that was also cool, right? So because during the drive, which it could be, people are like renting a car for sometimes 2 hours, but sometimes also 2 weeks, and they take it to the Scottish Highlands. I also saw photos from our marketing, even Iceland, I think. So yeah, it's kind of cool to have a widget, and where you could just like open, close, stuff like that without the physical keys. So
Yeah,
we're working
absolutely.
on that. It's not live yet.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that. But it sounds like the innovation days really help. I mean, in the past, the Google Friday was a thing as well. I tried to use this as well, but then work got in between. So yeah, maybe I should pick up my own innovation days again.
You need to
currently
force
on my
yourself. Yeah.
currently on the top of my list is trying out Cursor AI. So instead of using Visual Studio, I want to try Cursor and connect it to Sonnet. And I saw some tweets and people like, "Oh, this is so cool! I just write text and I don't have to code anymore." So I want to give that
Sounds
a try.
perfect.
Absolutely. You already touched on the topic that you looked at Maestro. We can come back to Maestro in a second. Taking a step back, you have a pretty popular GitHub repository called React Native Testing. For a while, I was mistaken and thought this is the React Native testing library and you are the author, but I think it's not. It's more like how to use the testing libraries with React
Yeah.
Native. So, could you explain what's in that repository?
Yeah. So I guess it's good that you were mistaken. Thank you for that compliment. But it all connects, right? So I think in 2020, I was in a testing workshop as part of React Amsterdam of Can't See Dots. And it was,
Mm-hmm.
of course, React Web, right? Can't See Dots. And I was like, it's pretty cool, but I've been through it. I really enjoyed that workshop, but I want to like sort of share this with the rest of the community, how to do it in React Native, well, because of the lack of resources. So I asked Kent C. Dot, because it was a paid workshop, if it's okay, and he said, yeah, okay, yeah, go for it. And this is how it started: React Native testing. I think I have something like 550 stars or something. So it really grew, and was connected to a blog post with, how to start. Where do I start testing my components, my screens? And everybody's like so afraid of that, and it works so well
Mm-hmm.
with web, but with native in the time, it was difficult. And yeah, sort of created what we now call a cookbook with recipes on, how to test a hook, or to test a flat list and scroll down, and and clicks and interacting. I don't know, like we just spoke about logging in, so like text inputs with username, password, and making API. How do we do that with React Native? And this is how React Native testing started. I mean, logically, initially it was like React Native, mostly like using React Native testing library and React Native testing hooks, utils, I think it's called, something like that. It's all from the same family. But then it got bigger and bigger, and I added like other ways of how can you, for example, intercept API calls with the MSW, with mock server service worker, and yeah, stuff like that. And I think the last thing that I added was Maestro. Maestro is makes it even easier. It's like very intuitive. You just write a YAML and you start the app. So I had very, very good experience with writing tests, end-to-end
Yeah,
tests with Maestro.
I just looked at a few things. So custom hook testing. I really like mocking fetch calls. Love it. Navigation through the React Navigation Expo router.
I just
Uh,
I just released a contribution today with React Native Testing Library. So basically, we have also another migration that is going on as React Native Testing repo is cool and all, but a lot of us are just leveraging and using React Native Testing Library of CallStack. So we have a cookbook there that I'm also a part of it, together with the guys from CallStack. And this morning I've added Fetch and Axios, and how can you like sort of a recipe of how can you mock them? What are the possibilities? How do you do this with network requests? So it's funny that you're speaking about that.
Nice. And also, I clicked around, and what you just mentioned, MSW, mock service worker,
Yeah.
mock service worker. I haven't seen that before, but just going to that page, I'm already sold. The dark colors and the orange got me. So, what is this library? I haven't seen this before.
Yeah. So MSW is a library where you could just spin up a server really quick, mostly used for mocked service. Like if your backend is down and you want to do like, but also for testing. And so this is where you can intercept all the API calls that are going to my API slash API 2.0, and and so that way, and then say, okay, return with response X with JSON Y and status 200. So yeah, you also have some examples there, which makes it even more cool and more real, like the real world scenario of, because you want to test your components as close as possible to to reality. And with MSW you can do this kind of thing. So really into the Axios, because or into Fetch, and go through all the parts of your app and components. So that makes it really swell.
It's so funny. Like, I'm just on the mock service worker repository. It has 15,000 stars.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I haven't seen it before. So I don't know how such a popular library can slip my attention. I always love it when I find these, because I have to laugh about myself and like the whole JavaScript world. And they're so gigantic. This has like the industry standard. Probably I'm just not attached enough to the industry. So,
Don't give yourself a hard time. We only have 24 hours a day, right? So
absolutely. But I will put the links below in the show notes, also to the GitHub repository. So for everyone, here are really, really great practical examples for testing and how to use it. Not just like long blog posts. This is just code, like files, how you do it. I think this helps most developers a lot. Coming back to what we said a couple of minutes ago, Maestro, I looked into it as well. Do you think this is currently the best way to do end-to-end tests with React Native?
yeah, I really think so. I think that Expo has been working with Detox, but the up and running Detox and Appium in the past. So Appium and Detox are the alternatives, or actually the OGs in the community, and it was really really difficult to run these. But last time that I checked them, I think a year ago, and Maestro makes it really really seamless, which kind of aligns with the whole seamless, functionality that is going on in the React Native community together with Expo. So it's really a matter of installing it and start pressing on buttons. They even have a cool functionality that it's called Maestro Studio. So you can run it from the CLI and you see your app, and you could just really click. You could tell your product owner, hey, or somebody doesn't understand anything about computers, click, and this. So basically, it like sort of records the clicking, and then it exports. Click on text X, or go, or log in. Click on cancel. Is this visible? So the expectation, you do need to add yourself the assertions, but it makes it like super seamless, and that's precisely what everybody wants to have. We love the idea of testing, but we don't like the idea of maintaining testing and writing the tests.
Yeah, I wonder how good Maestro is once you change your code and your UIs at some point, because then you also have to change all the click path, but you just have to go back to the YAML files, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, this is why we say, test the components as the users interact with, with your screen, with these components. Maybe accessibility labels, or I mean, text is flaky, yeah, but the tests aren't with Maestro. So I can reassure you, it's pretty it goes pretty well. And they also have like a paid service, which is Maestro Cloud, which makes it even easier to say run this YAML file for app. Then you upload the executable, and you could do it at the end just before you're submitting to the store, or something like that. So it could be pretty cool in your EAS pipeline. Could even save your
Absolutely,
life.
yeah.
Some say.
I agree. We could probably do a whole episode on testing. I think you're one of
I'd love
the biggest fans of testing of React Native. You all definitely know a lot about it. But for today, we want to wrap it up with one thing, because I saw a post on LinkedIn from you. It was probably just a couple of days ago, which brings us back to a current topic. You said you're really hyped about React Server components in React Native, and you shared again that demo that Evan did at, I think, it wasn't really initially at the app.js. I think he gave it a couple of days ago at the some other React conference in the United States. For a while it was. But what are your thoughts about the React Native server components? Why are you so hyped about this?
I think because we saw how we see how it works in the web world, and we see the positive things it brings along with it. It just makes things more easier, also security wise. So I'm super hyped about that. I've been playing around with Next.js and client and server components. It's just it works really well. It's very dynamic, and it's super fast. So I'm super excited about that, and learning more about React native server components. I think I got in my Twitter account. I was just asking Expo and Evan what's going on with that, and he said it's probably going to be a part of SDK 52 of Expo. So I'm super excited about that. At the moment, we know too little, but the demo was pretty swell. How fast you can run things, and separate them from server to client, and everything that has to do with that.
Yeah, Evan's demo was exciting. I think the last thing he recently shared, I mean, when this episode goes live, it was probably like 2 weeks ago, but right now he was talking about Expo DOM components, where you can bring in like a full HTML thing into a React Native page and then connect it through like some props with native functionality. That was impressive. And I think this is going to be part of SDK 52. And he said that this is like a precursor for React server components to work. So yeah, it looks like they're working a lot in that direction. It's getting closer. Do you think this will like improve your MyWheels application? Do you already see some areas where you think you can introduce React Server components or React Server components in React Native then?
Yeah, I think not directly, but I think it will definitely speed up some of the things. I like the segregation between the client and the server. And especially all the we've just been through security due diligence by KPN, and it went really well. So
congratulations!
we always have that in the back of our mind, especially with the environment variables, and just like you want to expose as little as possible. And with security is always like, yeah, you just don't want to take risks. It's never 100% like James Bond proof, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a step towards the right direction. So, I mean, we're excited about that, but I think first enabling the new architecture, Expo router, and we have a Bluetooth first implementation that is going on. So that's also cool, where you can open up the cars super fast and close them with Bluetooth over APIs, because if they're in
from the app you can open the car.
Yeah, so with the Bluetooth connection. So we're also dealing with that. We're probably also going to blog about that. We're super excited about this, and also about the new design that is coming up in our app. And definitely, yeah. So that will be definitely cool.
Really cool. Yeah, it's just a pleasure to be in the React Native community right now, because there's so many developments going on. Like Expo is doing stuff with Expo DOM components. Suddenly, Mark Rosavi is releasing Nitro modules and like coming up with a completely new way. And it's exciting times. It's also challenging for people because they can easily feel like they falling behind because there's so many new things coming out. So congratulations to you and MyWheels that you took the first step to at least be on Expo for the moment. So you're safe for the next 3 months until the next big thing comes along. And also thanks for all your contributions, for, of course, taking time today, and also React testing library, your documentation, and your actual code contributions to the different libraries. So maybe I'm going to bring you back in the future to talk more about testing. If you want to leave a comment on YouTube or any other platform. And any last words, where can find people more about you and what you do?
Yeah, so I think mostly X or Twitter with the handlebar name Van Galilea, which is awfully to spell, so check out the release notes. And Steve Galili in LinkedIn or stevegalili.com. If you have any questions, somebody wants to be mentored or just want to say hi, hit me up via stevegalili.com, I think.
Awesome, Steve. Thank you so much for taking time. Everyone, hit Steve up for that offer, and I will catch you in the next episode. So have a great day and all the best for MyWheels. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Bye. Thanks for joining today's episode. My goal is to share interesting stories and insights into the world of React Native development. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. And on Spotify and Apple, you can leave up to a 5-star review. Because podcasts, and especially niche podcasts like this, are hard to find, subscribing and leaving a review does help me a lot. On top of that, check out my React Native courses on galaxies.dev that cover a variety of topics from getting started to building and publishing your mobile app. Finally, you can share today's episode with a friend or colleague who would enjoy the topic of the show. If you have any questions or ideas for future episodes, find me on X or leave a comment on YouTube. And last but not least, thank you for listening and happy coding. Simon.